Assalamu alaikum and a very good day to all of you. Today we are going to talk about future tense as well as simple past tense. So as the name suggests, future tense, of course it will be used to talk about the future. So when we talk about future tense, normally the verb that we use is will or going to. So as the examples that you can see here, many languages will disappear. So will suggests it will happen in the future. Or you can also say many languages are going to disappear. So we use are going to also to talk about something that will happen in the future. Or English will not disappear. Or English is not going to disappear. So you can use either will or going to. Is going to, are going to, or am going to. I am going to or I will. So both can be accepted. Both are referring to actions that will happen in the future. So basically that is about about future tense. So that is the positive future tense, positive statement of future tense. What about the negative statement? So when we say negative, we will have the word not. So for example, when we say many languages will disappear, if negative, then many languages will not disappear. Or we can make it short, won't disappear. So as you can see, the example here, many languages won't disappear. So that is the short for will not or would not. So won't disappear is short for will not disappear. If you're asking a question, will English disappear soon? No, it won't. So that means no, it will not. If you say, so that is future tense. So the same goes to going to. So if we say we are going to study English, if it is negative, then we say we are not going to study English, or we are not going to study Mandarin. So you don't say we not are going to, or we are going to not study, but we say we are not going to study Mandarin. So when we make it short, it will be are and apostrophe T. So we aren't going to study Mandarin. Are we going to study French? No, we aren't. So aren't, A-R-E-N, apostrophe T is a short for are not. Or if we say he is not going, so we can say in a short form, he isn't going to study. So that is a short for is not, and the short for is not is isn't. The short for are not is aren't. So those are the things about simple future tense. With future tense will, we can also make it short, like when you say I will or you will or he will, you can make it short with apostrophe double L. So I apostrophe double L, I'll, you apostrophe double L, you'll, and he apostrophe double L, he'll. So that is a short form for he will or you will or I will or they will or it will. So normally we use the short form in conversation instead of in a formal writing. So in conversational English and informal writing, such as texting, text messaging, going to, is often pronounced as gonna. So that is informal. But in formal writing, we say going to or will. But in a spoken conversation, normally going to becomes gonna. Um, so, what is the difference between will and going to? So normally, when we use will, it is more formal. So in writing, it is advisable to use will instead of going to. For example, when we say the liquid will boil at 70 degrees Celsius. So we say will boil instead of going to boil, because will is more formal and is more appropriate for formal writing. So as you can see the notes here, for predictions, when we are predicting what will happen in the future, so normally we use will or going to, and will is more formal in writing. Let's say when we say many languages will disappear, so that is a prediction. Many languages are going to disappear, so it is also acceptable and it is a prediction. We generally use going to describe something that was planned before it was mentioned. So we have planned something and then we want to talk about it, so we normally use going to. For example, when we say when the baby is born, we are going to switch to English. Or I am going to start an English language school in China. So you have planned something and then you want to talk about it. So you say, I am going to do something. So it is something that you are going to do. You plan to do. So you use going to. We sometimes use the present continuous tense to talk about the future. If the future is something that we are somehow sure will happen. For example, if I am studying linguistics at the University of Illinois next year, so this will happen next year. But you can also use present continuous if you think it will happen next year. We use will when we want to make a promise. For example, when we say, I will pick you up tomorrow at 7. So that is a promise. Or you want to request for help. So will you help me? So you use will for a request for help. If you want to offer a help, you can also use will. Of course, I will help you. A comment of reassurance. So you want to make sure that you'll do something better. For example, so you say, I will. For example, I can't hear you. Sure, I will speak louder. So those are the uses of will and versus going to. And those are basically the brief explanation of simple future tense. Next, we'll move on to simple past tense. The idea of simple past tense is very easy. Anything that happened in the past, when we are talking about it, we use simple past tense. So it is the opposite of simple present tense. So normally with simple past tense, we add d or ed to the verb. If the verb is regular. If it is irregular verbs, we change the form of the verb. For example, the word learned. So the past tense of learned is L-E-R-N-E-D, learned. But the past tense of choose is chose. So that means you change the form. And the past tense of has or have is had. The past tense of teach is taught. So those are irregular verbs because you don't add d or ed to the past tense, to the past form, but you change the form entirely. You change the spelling. So we use simple past tense to talk about what happened in the past one time. So for example, when we say my grandfather passed away or died in 1995, for example. So something that happened one time in the past, no longer happening in the present. So it happened one time in the past, we use simple past tense. I learned to speak English in primary school, for example. I washed my car last week, or I cooked spaghetti yesterday. So things that happened in the past, one time, not happening many times in the past, we use simple past tense. So when we talk about simple present tense, the be verbs are is, are, or am. So when we talk about simple past tense, is becomes was, or becomes were, and am becomes I was. So I am, when you change to past tense, if it is a probable situation, so you say I was. For example, I was at the cafeteria yesterday when I saw her, for example. But if it is an improbable situation, things that is that didn't happen in the past, for example, when you say if I were a girl, you are a boy. If you say if I were a girl, or if I were a boy, then you say I were instead of I was. So basically that is the brief idea of simple past tense. When you ask a question, do and does for simple present tense. When it is simple past tense, the question becomes did. So for example, when you see here, did she learn 1000 signs? She didn't learn to speak. So we don't say she doesn't, but we say she didn't because it is past tense. We are referring to the past. What did you learn in the past? So you ask the question, did you learn mathematics? Or did you learn science? So we say did because we are referring to something that happened in the past. Where did you learn to bake? So we are talking about the past. Of course, similar to simple present tense, we will have to make sure as well when we say she learned to bake back in school. When you ask the question, did she learn? You have to be careful not to add ed because after do, did, and does, the verb has to be in its base form. So did she learn to bake back in school? So you'll have to be careful with the verb. So this is past tense, this is also past tense. So you can see did representing the past form instead of learn, because after did you cannot have ed as an ing. So you have to be very careful when you speak or when you write. Some verbs, although in the past form, it is written in the base form because of do, did, and does. And when you are making it negative, so let's say you have a negative statement. So they did they did becomes they didn't. So they did not, and did not can be shortened into didn't, D-I-D-N apostrophe T. So didn't is the negative form. So you say they didn't go to school. They did not go to school. They didn't go to school in a spoken conversation. Did they go to school? Yes, they did. Or yeah, no, they did not. Or no, they didn't. You also use simple past tense when you talk about where you were born. For example, I was born in Malaysia, or she was born in Africa. So you don't say she is born or I am born, but I was born, because we are referring to something to an action that happened in the past. So I was, or she was, or they were born in KL. So when you ask a question, was she born in KL? So the answer could be yes, she was, or no, she wasn't. Were they born in KL? Yes, they were, or no, they weren't. So were not can be shortened into were, W-E-R-E-N apostrophe T. So was not become wasn't, were not becomes weren't. So if simple present tense, we have words like every day, every morning, every weekend, frequently, oftenly, seldomly, or rarely. And with present continuous tense, we have words like at the moment and currently or right now. With simple past tense, we have words like yesterday, or last week, or last month, or last year, or in 1995. So those are the words that shows the action happened in the past. So like she died in 2007, or she died yesterday, or she died last month. So with simple past tense, there are words that you use with simple past tense, like yesterday, last week, or last month, that suggest it happened in the past. However, it is not necessary to mention when the action happened, but the simple past implies that a definite time or times can be pinpointed, so it helps you to know when it happened in the past. So to conclude, we use simple past tense to refer to an event that started and ended at a time in the past. So it can be a single event or a repeated event that happened in the past and no longer happening in the present. So that is all about simple past tense as well as simple future tense. Thank you very much. See you again in the next video.